everybody, this is Mike from EasyGuitarTheory.com. Welcome. We're going to be talking about how to read a chord chart today. So here you have a chord chart. It is the 6 strings of the guitar running up and down on the fretboard, and then you have the frets running side to side. So it's kind of like you're trying to read and look at your guitar like this. If you want to compare the two, it's as if the guitar is pointing upward, or you could turn it on its side if you want, but I'm not going to do that right here. We have your 6 strings. You number them from the bottom to the top on your guitar, down, low to up, high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to look at the strings as they're supposed to be tuned to in standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, E. That's from 6 down to 1. And if you use a little word association, you can look at eat all day, get big, easy, and that gives you those 6 notes that you want your guitar tuned to for standard notation. So as I explained, the dots that I put on here are going to represent your fingers on the fretboard. We're going to make an E chord to start with. These are going to be the open major chords. We're starting with the E chord. Put a dot there. That's on 3rd string, 1st fret, and the finger that's going to be playing it is your 1st finger. Then I'm going to put a dot up here on the 5th string, 2nd fret. That's going to be your 2nd finger. Then on the 4th string, 2nd fret, I'm going to put another dot, and that's going to be your 3rd finger. All the other strings are going to be played open, so an O stands for open, or strum open. Same for the other 2 down here. And then you have 1st finger here, 2nd finger here, and 3rd finger here. So now you see we have your fingers. 1st finger's on 3rd string, 1st fret, 2nd finger's on 5th string, 2nd fret, 3rd finger's on 4th string, 2nd fret. You'll strum all 6 strings for an open E major chord. And the next chord I'll show you will be an A chord, and then we'll work on a little drill where you can move between those 2 chords so it gets you up and playing a little bit of chord music right from the get-go. Alright, before we move on to the A chord, let's take a look at the E on the guitar. I have my 1st finger on the 3rd string, 1st fret. I have my 2nd finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and I have my 3rd finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret. I'm pushing down, like I told you guys in the video, on good chord position. I'm using my fingertips. I got my thumb a little bit behind, helping me push this together. I'm trying not to hit any of the other open strings because I want to hear them at this point, and here it is. The open E chord. Now let's look at an A chord. If we're playing an A major chord, you can just call it an A chord. We're going to put, I'm going to do it a little differently because of what song or what chords we're going to be playing with the E coming up. So I'm going to actually use some different fingers than I normally would on this chord. We're going to put a dot on the 4th string, 2nd fret. That's actually going to be our 2nd finger. Then we're going to put a dot right here on the G string, 3rd string, 2nd fret. That's going to be your 3rd finger. And then we're going to put a dot on the 2nd string on the same fret. That's going to be your 4th finger or your pinky. So now you get a chance to build up your strength on your pinky finger using it in a chord. Now in a lot of cases you might see this done with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers, or other ways that we'll talk about in future videos. But this is going to be the way we're going to do it today. There's a 0 up here, which we discussed earlier, means you would play these strings as open, the open 1st and 5th string. But I'm going to put an X up here on the 6th string, which means do not strum that string. So you really want to kind of avoid that one in this case, although it could still be part of the chord. But you want to have your A as your root note of the open 5th string. That's an A chord. Now let's take a look at it on the guitar. Alright, so today we're going to make the A chord more like a little bit differently than we normally would do it, because we're going from an E chord to an A chord. We're going to be doing a chord change. So I'm using my second finger on 4th string 2nd fret, my third finger on 3rd string 2nd fret, and my pinky on 2nd string 2nd fret. It's kind of a crampy chord, and these fingers are smaller sometimes, so you may want to use those fingers in a lot of cases. If you have big fingers, it'll make it easier to fit in there. And I'm going to strum the bottom 5 strings. There's your A. Now you're going to practice switching from one chord to another. So for this particular chord strum progression, what we're going to do is we're going to pick the root note, the 6th string open E, twice, and then we're going to strum the bottom 5 strings. We do that again, 6th string, pick it twice, and then strum the bottom 5. Now we're going to switch to an A chord, and the way that we did it, I'm going to bring my 2nd and 3rd finger down 1 string. I don't need my 1st finger back here. I can take it off, but I'm keeping it there ready to go back to the E chord. I'm adding my pinky on 2nd string 2nd fret. Now I've got my A chord, and I'm going to strum that, but I'm going to pick the 5th string twice and strum the bottom 4. So now we're going to take what we did with the E and what we did with the A and put them together, and we're going to play that either 2 times or 4 times in a row, switching back and forth between your chords. Start off nice and slow, and then you can speed it up later, but you got to start slow where you can actually do it. Thanks again for stopping by, everybody. To recap really quickly, we went over how to read a chord chart today for guitar, and then we learned the E and the A chord and put a little strumming pattern together. See if you guys can figure out what that pattern was, what song that was. This is Mike again at Easy Guitar Theory. Please leave any comments or questions in the comments section, and have a great day. Bye-bye.